Alright, I've recently made a video about these, the iPad mini and the iPad Pro, which one's better for most people, but the question is, in that video, was I wrong? You see, the interesting thing is an iPad is a lot like a tool. You could think of somebody like a carpenter. They have different tools for different jobs. A power saw is a great tool when you need to make a lot of cuts, but you might be doing some intricate little carving and you need something like a small chisel. And the iPad is the exact same way. When I need a lot of power, I don't go to my iPad mini, but if I'm just using an everyday device, I'm going to my iPad mini. So was I wrong that the iPad mini actually crushes the iPad Pro? The answer is kind of. For some people, I am absolutely dead wrong. For some people, I'm completely right. So who is the iPad Pro actually for? So the first person the iPad Pro is for is definitely for the artist. And by the way, if you like this wallpaper, go ahead and check it out. I've got a link in the description below. Helps the channel. I'd appreciate it. Now, I remember back in the day when artists had to use a Wacom tablet next to their MacBook Pro. They had to directly connect it, and that was the only way you could get any kind of pencil support and input on a device. Fast forward to right now, where the Apple Pencil is so well designed to work with an iPad. It's amazing to hear about the people who use iPads for all of their business workflow, but for artists to be able to use different types of paintbrushes and different types of textures all while using an iPad, that is an amazing thing. I think what's really amazing is seeing all the pressure sensitivity that you can get with the Apple Pencil and how that interacts with something like Procreate means that for an artist, this is such a helpful tool in their tool bag. Now, do some people still use those Wacom tablets? Absolutely, there's a lot of people that still use those. But in my mind, an iPad Pro, maybe the 12.9 version, that paired with the Apple Pencil is the perfect thing for somebody who wants to be an artist that paints or draws, but needs it to be as convenient as possible, because with the iPad, you can take it with you anywhere. You don't see a painter, somebody, putting stuff in their backpack and going and traveling with it. But here, like if you're on the train or if you're taking a cab, anything like that, you can actually get work done on your art with the iPad. Which, if you ask me, is pretty darn cool. Now, the next people that the iPad Pro might be better for are those people who want one single device for all things. When you're talking about the difference between the iPad Pro and the iPad mini, the reality is this: the iPad mini cannot be your only device. Yeah, I love that it's small and it's sleek and you can take it anywhere, but it just does not have the power that you need if you're not going to have other devices. Like for me, one of my favorite things is having an iPad mini and a MacBook Pro, but a lot of people aren't going to want to buy two different devices for that. And that's why I think the iPad Pro is actually one of the better devices you can get if you're just going to be a one-device person. This iPad Pro has the M2 chip in it, which means it's actually a really powerful computer. And so these days, you can actually get real work done on an iPad. A lot of people don't realize that. They still think of the iPad as kind of a handheld, like holding the internet in your hands, consumption device, but recently, Apple has done some major things to allow the iPad to be a device where you can actually produce a lot of really solid work. And so, for example, now you can actually plug in an iPad Pro with the M2 chip, and it's a full-size desktop. Behind me, I have a BenQ monitor. I can plug in my iPad Pro with USB-C and have a full-screen experience, whereas when I do that with the iPad mini, it has black bars on the side. And so having that iPad Pro on a full-size screen really does make it like a computer replacement. Now, granted, I actually think it's a little bit clunkier than some of the iPad-only people think it is, but once you get used to workflow, you know all the little weird workarounds you have to do, and that kind of becomes the normal thing for you. So for the iPad Pro, I like it because I like to write a lot. I'm a pastor, so I write a lot of sermons. I also write a lot of these scripts for this YouTube channel. And so for me, plugging it in and using the Ulysses app is such a good experience. And it's so cool to see where monitors are at today, where you have a USB-C cable. That one cable will charge your device and be the display input. And so I love using my iPad as a computer, which is pretty awesome because it's so nice to just be able to throw it in your backpack. An iPad is lighter than any other device that Apple has, and so it's not, MacBook Pro, even the 14-inch is light, but when you put an iPad in your backpack, it honestly feels like you're not holding anything on your back. So it's really interesting to see how nowadays you can actually be a productivity monster. You can have a full-time job and work only on an iPad. You got all your word processing, your Excel spreadsheets and all that stuff. I don't like using any of those things. But not only that, you can do creative work. You can do video editing on the iPad now. And that's absolutely crazy to say that on something so thin and so light like the iPad Pro, with something like DaVinci Resolve or with Final Cut Pro, you can get actual work done as a video editor with this small and light device. And even though the chip, the M2 chip, is placed inside this small thing, it doesn't overheat, it doesn't kill the battery. And like I said, if you plug it into your monitor, then when you unplug it, you've got this one device for all day use. So if you're a one device person, the iPad Pro really does make sense. Now, the next people that the larger size iPad might be the best possible device for them is for students. Let's be honest, I can remember being back in college and just having absolutely no money, but still needing a device that's gonna help me get through all of my work. And as we said before with the only device person, the iPad Pro is the type of product that can help you do that. But for the student particularly, obviously just like with the grandparents, like the iPad Pro might not be the one for you, but the 10th generation iPad with the keyboard case is a great device. An Apple Pencil won't run you that much money, and then all of a sudden you've got everything you could possibly need for your studies. If you've ever taken handwritten notes with an iPad, it's wonderful. For me, I like to use Notability for that function, and the reason I like Notability is because it gives you a great writing experience while you're sitting in a meeting or in a class, and so for me, that's great. And the reason I like that more than taking notes on an actual piece of paper is whenever I'm out, I can have the Notability app on my iPhone, and I can have my notes with me all the time, anywhere. In the past, I've used something like a Field Notes thing, but I just don't like having a ton of stuff in my pockets. Like, I know in the ideal world, taking physical notes, it is better, but I would rather have my notes with me all the time than have a better writing experience with a piece of paper and needing that information and not having it. And so for me, going digital with all of that world of note-taking and all that has been the better decision for me, because I've been out and about. Like, I've literally been in the grocery store and thought, like, what did we say in that meeting? I know I was supposed to get something, but I don't remember what it is. Having that notebook with me in a digital format is the best way. And actually, if you want to see a video of me comparing physical notes and an iPad, go ahead and tell me in the comments below that you'd be into it. I'd love to make that video. Now, like we said, the iPad is great because of its multi-function use. So when you're in college, one of the best things you can do is search out different avenues of work that you'd like to do. And with the iPad, if you want to be an artist, you can do that. If you want to be a writer, you can do that. If you want to make videos, you can edit on it. And not only that, you can find all your entertainment on it with streaming devices and different games. Now, I love having a MacBook Pro, and I've owned a MacBook Pro since I was like my first year of college, but that was before the iPad was even introduced. And so if I were going to school today and I had to pick one device because that's all the money I had, I would 100% pick an iPad. Now, I don't think I would go with the iPad mini because, like I said, it's not the one device ruled them all kind of thing. That you kind of need an iPad mini and a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Air. But if you're going to be a one device person and you're going into school, man, pick up an iPad. The next person is going to be the creative professional. If you're somebody who is out, you're doing freelance work, this iPad Pro is such a good device for you. Like I said, you can do video editing on it. Now, this is probably not going to be your main device, and if you are a creative professional, definitely you're going to have your own NLE, which is nonlinear editor for those who are not in that world. But to be at a wedding and be able to offload all your footage from your card onto there and get some kind of initial editing done, that's a fantastic workflow for this iPad Pro. And with the advancements that Apple has done in Final Cut Pro or DaVinci Resolve, both of them work out fantastically well. You can actually get real editing done on this. But for video editing, it's not the best, but for photo editing, that is where the iPad Pro absolutely shines. Having Lightroom on an iPad is an absolute game changer for photographers. Being able to be on a shoot, upload your files to that iPad, and then be able to edit them and show the client kind of a preliminary edit on those photos is an absolute game changer, because what you want to do when you have clients is you want to instill trust, and you want them to trust that you're going to get the best work done. You want to be rehired, right? And so for me, like, one of the best things you can do is create a great environment by showing them the work before you get home. But maybe you watch this video and you're like, yes, I do love the iPad, but I definitely need a full laptop. If that's you, go ahead and click this video right here where I compare all the new MacBook Airs and the MacBook Pros. Go ahead and check it out. I'll see you all in the next one. Oh, shoot.